Chapter 2, The Generosity Trap. You've done the lab experiments. Chapter 2, The Generosity Trap. The Hierophant Lesson. You've done the lab experiments. You've built the framework. You're no longer the reactive hard worker. You're becoming the silent killer. But here's the problem. The moment people see you're competent, they'll start treating you like a vending machine. They'll ask for quick favors. They'll need just 5 minutes. They'll say, "You're so good at this, can you help me?" And if you say yes every time, you'll lose everything you just built. Welcome to the generosity trap. Most people think saying yes makes them valuable. They think being helpful is the path to respect. But in reality, unlimited generosity turns you into the office doormat. You become the person everyone runs to when they don't want to do their own work. You're not building relationships, you're building resentment. Today, I'm teaching you the protocol of selective generosity, how to help without becoming the cleanup. You're not building relationships, you're building resentment. This chapter is about the Hierophant, the archetype of tradition, structure, and the proper way to do things. In the tarot, the Hierophant represents established systems and social norms. In the office, the Hierophant is Walter Grump. Walter believes helping everyone is what good employees do. He's stuck in the way we've always done it. Endless availability, saying yes to every request, respecting outdated traditions of selfless service. But here's the twist. The Hierophant's wisdom isn't wrong. Structure and systems are your superpower. The trap is when you let tradition turn you into everyone's servant. Today I'm teaching you the protocol of selective generosity, how to respect the value of helping without letting it kill your growth. But first, let me introduce crew. Let's go back to the lab. John, the silent killer, has just finished building his framework. Today, I'm teaching you the protocol of selective generosity, how to help without becoming the cleanup crew. Protocol of selective generosity, how to help without becoming the cleanup crew. But first, let me introduce you to a new face in the lab, Mark, the trainee, 25 years old, fresh out of business school, eager to prove himself. Mark is the embodiment of the yes man. He thinks saying yes to everything will make him indispensable. Spoiler alert, it won't. Mark is about to learn the hard way that unlimited generosity doesn't build a career, it builds resentment. Keep an eye on Mark. His mistakes will teach you everything you need to know about the generosity trap. Let's go back to the lab. John, the silent killer, has just finished building his framework. Crew. But first, let me introduce you to a new face in the lab. Mark, the trainee, 25 years old, fresh out of business school, eager to prove himself. Mark is the embodiment of the yes man. He thinks saying yes to everything will make him indispensable. Spoiler alert, it won't. Mark is about to learn the hard way that unlimited generosity doesn't build a career, it builds resentment. Keep an eye on Mark. His mistakes will teach you everything you need to know about the generosity trap. Now let's go back to the lab. John, the silent killer, has just finished building his framework. But first, let me introduce you to crew. But first, let me introduce you to a new face in the lab. Mark, the trainee, 25 years old, fresh out of business school, eager to prove himself. Mark is the embodiment of the yes man. He thinks saying yes to everything will make him indispensable. Spoiler alert, it won't. Mark is about to learn the hard way that unlimited generosity doesn't build a career, it builds resentment. Keep an eye on Mark. His mistakes will teach you everything you need to know about the generosity trap. Now let's go back to the lab. John, the silent killer, has just finished building his framework. A new face in the lab, Mark, the trainee, 25 years old, fresh out of business school, eager to prove himself. Mark is the embodiment of the yes man. He thinks saying yes to everything will make him indispensable. Spoiler alert, it won't. Mark is about to learn the hard way that unlimited generosity doesn't build a career, it builds resentment. Keep an eye on Mark. His mistakes will teach you everything you need to know about the generosity trap. Let's go back to the lab. John, the silent killer, has just finished building his framework. His systems are tight, his processes are documented, he's 10 steps ahead. But now, Barney the HR guy has a problem. Barney needs a report by Friday, but he waited until Thursday night to start. Barney walks over to John's desk. "Hey John, you're really good with Excel. Can you help me pull some data? It'll only take a minute." John knows it won't take a minute. It'll take 2 hours, and Barney will take all the credit. So what does John do? John doesn't say yes, but he also doesn't say no. He says, "I can show you how to do it." This is the filter. John doesn't do the work for Barney. He teaches Barney the process. If Barney actually wants to learn, John just created leverage. If Barney just wanted free labor, he'll disappear. Either way, John protected his time. Here's the truth. People don't value free help. They value the outcome. If you give someone a fish, they'll be back tomorrow asking for another fish. If you teach them to fish, they'll either learn or admit they never actually wanted to eat fish in the first place. The generosity trap is thinking that doing someone else's work makes you indispensable. It doesn't. It makes you the intern. And here's the really funny part. Barney doesn't even show up to learn. He sends John an email 20 minutes later. "Actually, I figured it out on my own." Translation: he asked someone else to do it. This is why the filter works. It weeds out the time wasters while you keep your dignity intact. Let me show you the 4 levels of generosity. Level 1, the yes man. This person says yes to everything. They think availability equals value. They're first in, last out, always helping, always exhausted. They never get promoted because they're too busy being useful to everyone else. Level 2, the transactional helper. This person helps, but only if there's something in it for them. "I'll help you if you help me." This works short term, but it's exhausting to track. Level 3, the selective strategist. This person helps when it aligns with their goals. They don't help everyone. They help the right people at the right time. This is where John lives. Level 4, the architect. This person doesn't help individuals. They build systems that eliminate the need for help. They automate, they document, they scale. This is where John is heading. Most people are stuck at level 1. They're drowning in other people's problems. The silent killer moves to level 3, then architects their way to level 4. You're not being selfish, you're being sustainable. Picture the yes man. It's 6 p.m. on a Friday. Everyone else has gone home. But there's Mark, still at his desk, helping Barney format a PowerPoint that Barney will present as his own work on Monday. Mark thinks this is being a team player. Mark is actually being a doormat with a salary. Don't be Mark. Now let's run the scenarios. Scenario 1. Sandy, the designer, asks John to review her 40-slide brand deck. John knows this will take an hour, and Sandy will ignore his feedback anyway. The yes man says, "Sure, send it over." The silent killer says, "What's your biggest concern with it?" If Sandy can't articulate a specific problem, John knows she just wants validation, not feedback. He politely declines. And here's what actually happens when you say yes to Sandy. You spend an hour writing thoughtful feedback. Sandy reads none of it. She comes back a week later with the exact same deck and says, "I made some changes based on your notes." She didn't. She changed the font. One time, in the footer. Congratulations, you just donated an hour to Sandy's delusion. John learned this lesson 3 years ago. You're learning it now. Scenario 2. Walter, the office manager, asks John to join a 2-hour strategy meeting. John checks the agenda. There isn't one. The yes man shows up anyway. The silent killer replies, "Happy to join if we can get an agenda circulated first. I want to make sure I can add value." If Walter doesn't send an agenda, John doesn't attend. No agenda, no value. Want to know what happens in Walter's meeting? 45 minutes of Walter explaining the context. 30 minutes of people debating whether they should schedule another meeting. 20 minutes of Balti going off on a tangent about his weekend. 15 minutes of Sandy presenting slides nobody asked for. And 0 minutes of actual decisions being made. The yes man walks out of that meeting with nothing but 2 hours of their life they'll never get back. John walks out of that meeting because he never walked in. Scenario 3. Balti, the CEO, has a brilliant idea at 11 p.m. and wants John's thoughts. The yes man responds immediately with enthusiasm. The silent killer waits until morning, reads the email with fresh eyes, and replies with clarifying questions instead of blind agreement. 9 times out of 10, Balti has already moved on to a different brilliant idea by sunrise. Let me paint you the full picture of Balti's 11 p.m. email. Team Revolutionary Thought. What if we pivoted our entire Q4 strategy to focus on blockchain-enabled artisanal coffee subscriptions? Thoughts? The yes man writes a 3-paragraph response at 11:07 p.m. fully supporting this insane idea. John goes to sleep. By 8 a.m., Balti has sent 2 more emails, one about switching to a freemium model for enterprise clients and another about quiet hiring interns to replace half the staff. Balti doesn't even remember the coffee blockchain thing, but the yes man's response is now part of the permanent record, forever archived as evidence that they endorsed weaponized nonsense. John's inbox clean, his reputation intact. This is the protocol of selective generosity. You help when it's strategic. You teach instead of doing. You set boundaries, not barriers. You're not being cold. You're being professional. And let me tell you the secret that nobody admits. The people who respect boundaries the most are the ones who actually respect you. The people who get mad when you say no, those are the people who were trying to exploit you in the first place. If Barney gets upset because you won't do his Excel work, that's not a relationship problem. That's Barney revealing he never valued you as a colleague, only as free labor. Here's your Chapter 2 lab experiment. Go through your calendar from last month. Highlight every time you helped someone. Now ask yourself, did this help move my goals forward, or did it just make me feel needed? If the answer is just made me feel needed, that's the generosity trap. You're addicted to being useful instead of being valuable. And here's the brutal truth you'll discover. At least 60% of the help you gave last month was performative. You weren't actually solving problems, you were performing the theater of helpfulness. You were saying yes because saying no felt uncomfortable. But discomfort is just weakness leaving the body. Start getting comfortable with strategic no's, or get comfortable with being everyone's unpaid intern forever. Lab Experiment 2, the Favor Ledger. For the next 2 weeks, track every favor you do and every favor you receive. If you're giving 10 favors for every one you receive, you're not generous, you're being used. The silent killer maintains balance. You help people who help you. You invest in relationships, not one-way transactions. I did this experiment once. The results were hilarious and depressing. I was doing 23 favors a week. I was receiving 2. And one of those 2 was someone asking if I wanted their leftover sandwich. That's not generosity. That's a hostage situation with a salary. If your favor ledger looks like mine did, it's time to close some accounts. Lab Experiment 3, the Boundary Test. The next time someone asks for help, pause for 5 seconds before responding. Ask yourself, is this urgent or just urgent to them? Is this teaching them or enabling them? If it's enabling, your answer is, let me show you how to do that. If they resist, they never wanted help. They wanted a servant. The 5-second pause is magic, because in those 5 seconds, you give the other person just enough time to realize how ridiculous their request actually is. Half the time, they'll backtrack before you even respond. Actually, never mind. I figured it out. Translation: they realized you might say no, so they found someone else with weaker boundaries. Congratulations, you just dodged a bullet by doing absolutely nothing. Lab Experiment 4, the Availability Audit. Look at your communication tools. Email, Slack, Teams. Are you responding instantly to everything? The yes man is always available. The silent killer controls their availability. Set response windows. Batch your replies. Train people to respect your time by respecting it yourself first. Let me tell you about Eugene's Slack status. Eugene, the IT guy, has his status set to Do Not Disturb from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. His custom status message says, check the manual first. Does Eugene get fewer messages? Yes. Does Eugene get more respect? Also yes, because Eugene trained the entire office that his time isn't free real estate. Meanwhile, the yes man has their status set to always active and wonders why they get 147 Slack messages before lunch. Your availability is a currency. Stop giving it away for free. The generosity trap is seductive because it feels like leadership. But real leadership isn't doing everyone's work for them. Real leadership is building the system so the work doesn't need you. The silent killer doesn't hoard their time selfishly. They allocate it strategically. You're not the office vending machine. You're the architect of your own value. Protect your power or someone else will drain it. Subscribe for Chapter 3, Jealousy Management, where we deal with the fallout of being the best in the office. Here's the ultimate truth. The generosity trap isn't about other people taking advantage of you. It's about you taking advantage of yourself. You're using helpfulness as a drug to avoid doing the hard work of setting boundaries and building real strategic value. You're choosing the dopamine hit of being needed over the long-term respect of being valuable. The office doesn't need another helpful person. The office needs more Johns, people who build frameworks, protect their time, and teach others to fish instead of running a 24/7 seafood charity. Here's the ultimate truth. The generosity trap isn't about other people taking advantage of you. It's about you taking advantage of yourself. You're using helpfulness as a drug to avoid doing the hard work of setting boundaries and building real strategic value. You're choosing the dopamine hit of being needed over the long-term respect of being valuable. The office doesn't need another helpful person. The office needs more Johns, people who build frameworks, protect their time, and teach others to fish instead of running a 24/7 seafood charity. And let me give you one final story from the lab to drive this home. Remember Sandy, the designer who ignores feedback? Last month, she asked Walter, the office manager, to help her optimize the meeting room booking system. Walter, being a yes man, spent an entire weekend building her a custom spreadsheet with color coding, automated reminders, and drop-down menus. It was beautiful. It was comprehensive. Sandy used it exactly once, then went back to double booking conference room B every Tuesday. Walter was crushed. He thought he was being helpful. He was actually being Sandy's unpaid IT department. Meanwhile, Eugene, the IT guy, had the same request from Sandy 2 years ago. Eugene said, "There's a tutorial in the manual, page 47. Takes 5 minutes to learn." Sandy never asked Eugene again. Did Sandy think Eugene was unhelpful? Maybe. Does Eugene care? No, because Eugene spent that weekend doing literally anything else, while Walter spent it becoming Sandy's servant. This is the choice. You can be Walter, exhausted and unappreciated, or you can be Eugene, unbothered and respected. And here's the kicker. 6 months later, when the company needed to promote someone to senior manager, who do you think they picked? Not Walter, the guy who will say yes to anything. They picked Eugene, the guy who respects his own time enough to set boundaries. Because leadership isn't about being the most helpful person in the room. Leadership is about knowing when to help and when to let people solve their own problems. The generosity trap makes you a hero in the moment and invisible in the long run. The protocol makes you valuable forever. So, here's your homework. For 1 week, practice saying, "Let me show you how to do that," instead of, "I'll take care of it." Watch how many people suddenly figure it out on their own. That's not rudeness. That's liberation. Subscribe for Chapter 3, Jealousy Management, where we deal with what happens when everyone realizes you're the only one who actually has their life together. So, here's your homework. For 1 week, practice saying, "Let me show you how to do that," instead of, "I'll take care of it." Watch how many people suddenly figure it out on their own. That's not rudeness, that's liberation. The Hierophant teaches us that tradition and structure have value, but only when they serve you, not enslave you. Walter embodies the Hierophant's shadow, trapped by the outdated belief that good employees sacrifice everything for everyone. Eugene embodies the Hierophant's wisdom, systems and boundaries that create sustainable respect. The card asks, Are you using structure to build power, or are you using tradition as an excuse to stay stuck in the generosity trap? Pull the Hierophant card today. Ask yourself, am I Walter, drowning in outdated obligations, or am I Eugene, channeling structure into strategic boundaries? Subscribe for Chapter 3, Jealousy Management, where we deal with what happens when everyone realizes you're the only one who actually has their life together.